Hello and welcome, listeners, to another gripping episode of Sleuthing Secrets, where we move ahead with our story. In the previous episode, we found that the killer is finally arrested and tortured. Finally, he agrees to speak up as Commissioner Smith clicks the recorder. Let's begin.
My father was always ill. He had leukemia when he died. I was only 10. My mother had nothing. All the money we had was used for medication, so to survive, my mom got married to a rich financial broker. We moved in shortly after, but I hated him. And the feeling was clearly reciprocated. He would always beat me and call me names. He would say I was a devil sent to destroy him. It was around this time that I started capturing small creatures. And I was always at house and Siam and money to pay fees, so I was always so bored. I used to set traps to catch those silly creatures. Then I would spend time torturing them. I always imagined they were my stepfather. One day, he came back early from work. I think he was fired or something because he looked angrier than usual. I mean, he was always drunk. He saw me and freaked out, threw a beer bottle at me, beat me, cursed me, till one of the neighbors came in and stopped him. But my mother came back later that day, and you know what she did. Nothing, absolutely nothing. I didn't blame her, though. That's when it started. The urge to kill. I started having dreams about killing the fat bastard. Perhaps I even started making plans.
Commissioner Smith was listening to him with a calm mind.
So one day he told me to get him a beer from the fridge and asked me to open it too. Since I'd been researching ways to kill him, I actually found one. Poison is said to be the best way to kill someone bigger than you. But I didn't want to just kill him. I wanted to torture him for hours. So I laced it with some sleeping pills I had crushed earlier. He drank the beer and slept like an elephant. Now tying him up was the hardest part, but I managed. I tied his legs and hands as tightly as I could and pushed him up. He just sat there snoring like a pig. I poured some cold water on him and he woke up.
Commissioner Smith could almost feel the tension in the room as the killer described a moment. He took control of his tormentor.
I immediately stuffed his mouth with the socks I was holding as he was yelling at the top of his voice. He mumbled and mumbled, but didn't realize I wasn't hearing anything he was saying. I brought out the pressing iron and burned his fingers off. Yeah, it smelled like bacon. He seemed to be shouting a lot. Thank God I muffled him. That was when my mom came back. She seemed very shocked. "What have you done?" She cried. "Mom, I was just doing the right thing." I replied. She stepped backwards, scared. She ran towards my stepdad, took the socks out of his mouth. "I will kill him. I'll kill you both," he mumbled. My mom gently sat down on the floor, crying silently. "Go get some water," she ordered. I rushed off into the kitchen and got it. When I came back, he was dead. She had slit his throat open. There was blood everywhere. My mom immediately got up and went down to the basement. She came back up with a chainsaw. She wasn't really crying anymore. She turned on the stereo. My stepdad's rock playlist started banging. She turned on the chainsaw and started chopping him up, limb after limb. Funny thing is, it didn't actually bother me. It was very exciting. When she was done, we packed him into a bag and drove off to the river. We dumped the bastard in that water and never spoke about him again.
The room falls silent as the killer finishes his tale. The horror of his actions is palpable, yet he recounts it with a disturbing calmness.
So now we know the genesis, but why did you kill the two women?
The commissioner leans forward, hiding the disgust he felt with a mask of professionalism.
Oh, that's the best part. It was a rather cold day. I just got fired from my job. I went back home and had a couple of beers. I was staring at all the beer bottles on the center table. I don't know why and how, but it just reminded me of the fat bastard. Memory started flooding back in. I remembered how I felt that night we killed him. I felt free, excited to rush. I had never felt that excited ever since that day. Funny enough, I heard the news on the radio that night. Police, they were reporting how he was captured and how he had tortured people. But I wasn't really baffled by his work. It was the attention, the people that came out just to see him and created a legacy. Just like that, I was motivated. It was almost as if God had spoken to me. I'm quite religious. I got into my car and began the search for my victim. That's it. That's how I butchered the two women.
The killer gleamed with joy, reveling in the retelling of his horrific acts.
Can I get some more coffee?
The commissioner gets up and gets closer to the killer.
But you say, I think that's bullshit. I mean, the first part of your story is believable, but the part of you killing those women, I think it's bullshit.
What do you mean? Yours is a right.
Why don't I go get you some more coffee? And when I'm back, I'll tell you what I think really.
The commissioner gave a cheeky smile before he left the room. that's where we'll leave it for today, folks. What does the commissioner really think? And is our killer as clever as he thinks he is? Join us next time on Sleuthing Secrets as we uncover more of this chilling story.